Oh dear, Bitcoin is down again as the week opens. So what I want to do is zoom out, take a big picture look at what is going on, and then see if there's much more of this selling to go on. Asia has not been a good open for us today. So let's take a big zoom out because we need to see where we are at this point in the cycle. Do we need to worry that it's over? One thing I will note, actually, which I'll come back to talk about this take profit range maybe later if I remember. It's not really my main focus, but looking at the weekly, we're still above the weekly 50 EMA, which has acted as support on prior pullbacks. So that's okay so far, but we do have our very big zone of liquidity between 88.5 and say 96K. I'm not going to sound like a broken record. You guys, if you are regular watchers of this channel, you know my line in the sand. You know where I'm exiting, unless you're new here, of course, in which case, if you are, welcome. And to give you a hint, if Bitcoin drops below 100K, I'm out. I have been taking profit, by the way. So this is how I personally believe that. I believe on the moves up, you take partial profits. You don't wait for signs that it's over before you get out. By taking partial profits on the way up, you get out at the highest price possible. So I have done that. I've reduced my portfolio a lot. I am mostly in stables now and Bitcoin and very, very few altcoins. So I'm happy about that. It leaves me in peace, When we have a look at the daily time frame, the analysis from prior videos is still the same. Need to close above this level here in order to create a 4-hour W. So that could be in the process of happening now. We obviously need more time, but the 4-hour W would end up looking something like this. But this side here would have to close above this level here, which is between, well, let's say the highest at about 116.5. It would have to convincingly close above that for us to turn bullish on higher timeframes again. So we could be in the process of creating that. We could also be in the process of creating a new lower low, because when we have a look at the 12-hour time frame, this one has my biggest interest right now, because after this big liquidation event, we end up getting a double top here just at around the 61.8 fib, which is quite a bearish retest, right? And then we created this triangle formation, which again, if you're new here, I don't trade retail patterns, but I do draw them on my charts just so I'm aware of what retail would be thinking. And we can see here that it did break that triangle. It has retested on the 12-hour time frame, which was also a retest of the 50 EMA, which is what I trade. And now we seem to be heading down. So it is likely that we will revisit the wick low. And the reason for that is because when price rejects the 61.8, the target is back at the 0, which is the wick low. Now, this is kind of between the 50 and the 61.8. So if we retest only 50, the target becomes the -27. So I would say get prepared for this to continue dropping, not just back to the wick low, but it could potentially go into this liquidation zone. And that's at around, say, the 95K area. Yeah, say 93 to 95, just to give you a range. So if things get really bad, that could happen. And that is why I'm personally taking profits in this range, because I think taking profits when Bitcoin's in 6 figures is good. I'm happy with that, But before freaking out about those levels too much, just worry about the wick low. First of all, we need to reassess if the price does come back down to fill that whole wick. We need to reassess at the time whether or not there are buyers in that zone. So now that allows me to go down to the 1-hour time frame to assess what's going on. And what I think now that we have more price action, this was the M formation, and all of this would be the 1-hour time frame actually level 1 drop, with the 3 moves to the downside would be relevant on the 15-minute time frame. And then from there, we went into the retracement, and we're probably currently in the level 2 drop, which means that after the level 2 drop is done, I'm not saying it's done right now, but after it's done, we might get another retracement. We might go into the level 3. And again, who knows how dramatic that might get. But this is the sort of play that I'm looking for now. And look, the thing is, just understand how my personal strategy works, because I don't worry about price, I worry about movement. So today's Monday, and on Mondays, the market makers issue a false move, and that is designed to liquidate the weekend traders, and then they move in the real direction. So if I take you back now to have a look at the charts, you can see how that has basically played out, in that this was the weekend trap, this was the false move, and now we have the direction. Now, once that has happened, you have to watch session changeovers, and you watch them on the 15-minute time frame. So we're looking here at Asia into UK, which has already happened, and then we're looking at UK into US. Now, we do this on Monday and also Tuesday. Between US session Monday to US session Tuesday, there's something like a 70 or 80% chance that the market will reverse. So we are in the peak time frame to be looking for that. You want to be watching when US opens later today. And if we don't get the pivot then, we want to be watching for the rest of tomorrow as well. Now, if we don't get the pivot today or tomorrow, then that will tell me that this, what I originally said to you on the 1 hour time frame, is probably the likely scenario, meaning this is actually the real trend of the week. So the real trend happens after the false move that opens the week. The real trend will go down for 3 levels or 3 days. And if that turns out to be the case, then there's enough time to take us into a midweek reversal potentially. So for me, I'm looking for pivots anytime from now into the rest of this week. And I'm not personally trading short because I think you guys know that my short was open magically at the actual all-time high. Not magically, using TA. It was skill, Anastasia. So I have a short position and I'm fine. I'm really waiting to get one more pivot low entry for a long position. And the reason for that is because I personally believe, and look, you're not going to like what I'm about to say, and I know and I have accepted that the comments in this video are going to be horrible. But the fact of the matter is, I personally believe that the cycle is over for Bitcoin. And I believe that because I had, funnily enough, let me see if I can find them, but I had 2 targets. So let me see here. So this was a chart that I had posted, well, not posted, I had talked about on YouTube so long ago, it was actually posted here when the price was retracing for this wave 4 and it hadn't finished. So this would have been around March of this year. And my target for this retracement was here between 72.5 to 78, which you can see we basically came right into the middle of that, which would have signified the end of this wave 4. So this is where I got a long position and that would have validated the wave 4 of the Elliott wave, which is now validated. So therefore, I had 2 take profit ranges. And you can see here that we hit exactly into my first take profit range. Not only did we hit it exactly at the price, but we also hit it exactly on the day. Now, the day's not in this chart, but let me see if I can find evidence. So this is in my private Discord where many times this is a joke, okay? So I'm not telling you that I've called the all-time high, but for months and months and months, I made jokes that the all-time high would be in on the 6th of October. And the reason that I was making jokes is because that's my daughter's birthday. So I was saying it would just be so likely that the cycle top is in on her birthday. And if it does turn out that way, I'm not going to say at all that I called it because only the men in this industry are allowed to say that they called it. But I think it will be a very funny coincidence if that's the way it is. Now, I don't subscribe to this idea of short bear markets. I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, we are either in a macro bull market or in a macro bear market, or we're in the accumulation phase. So if Bitcoin from here does correct for a few months, to me, that is a correction. The correction could be the beginning of the bear market. It could be a correction in the bull market and we can continue up after that. For me personally, I always try to stay connected to you guys that watch this video. And I understand that my audience is in a wide range of financial positions. Some of them are in crypto because they need to make money and they don't want to become bag holders and they have a goal to make their money this cycle. And then there are others who have disposable wealth and they can buy and they can hold for the next 10 years. And it doesn't matter if they get a return in 10 years' time or not. They've got an amount of money in the market that they are happy to risk. And if it makes them money, great. And if it doesn't, also great. I try to cater my content more to those that are in the camp of wanting to make money this cycle. So my personal opinion, and this is how I'm personally playing it, is that I don't want to take the risk that we may only correct and then the bull market continues in 3-4 months' time. Okay, that's too long a period to sit through a drawdown for me. I would rather sell out on peak formation highs, take my profit. If we do go into a few month correction, reassess at that time whether I think that correction is just a correction in a bull market. And if I do, I'll be looking for peak formation lows to buy back in. And if we don't, then I will get eventually confirmation that the cycle is over because we'll get macro lower highs and lower lows. And then I will be correct in assuming that the cycle is over and I don't have to worry because I've taken profits on the way out. So that's how I personally manage it. I'm not trying to guess if we're going to have an extended cycle or not. I think that that's dangerous, especially if you're in a situation where you don't want to be a multi-cycle holder. It's very different mindset if you're happy to buy things now and wait 10, 20 years. Very different mindset. Now, when I say all of this, I'm talking about the cycle portfolio. I'm not talking about selling all of your Bitcoin if you've been around for multiple cycles and you keep accumulating Bitcoin or altcoins or whatever else you believe in. If you're happy to keep accumulating multi-cycle, go ahead and do that. My content is more tailored towards the people that got in this cycle and want to get out this cycle. Okay, I just want to be clear about that. So for that reason, I think it's intelligent to be a little bit risk off on any spot portfolios. Now, the other reason why I want to say that is because here's how I think the next couple of weeks is basically going to play out. If this does play out here, where we end up having 3 drops on the 1 hour time frame and we do end up coming down into some of my lower targets, then I do believe, like I said to you, that we'll probably get a pivot sometime this week. Caveat to that, again, is just a reminder, we have to watch the session changeovers today and tomorrow, because also what's really important is that we have Palantir today. So Palantir earnings was probably coming out in US, I don't know, but I think that's important. And I also think what is really, really important is going to be the 19th, we have NVIDIA earnings. Now, I think these are the 2 most important earnings in my opinion. And so for that reason, I'm watching these 2 very closely. So this is Palantir up here and this is NVIDIA. What I feel might happen if we don't get our pivot today or tomorrow and we do actually continue down into these 3 levels of drop on the 1 hour time frame, then I think that will create the peak formation low. Again, I'm assuming it's going to happen this week, but we'll see. And then once that peak formation low is created, I think there's a chance, so this is what I'm going to be watching for. I think there's a chance that we will then start to rally into these earnings. It's still not showing up. So this page is lagging, but you can trust me that NVIDIA is the 19th. So I'm also going to be watching the chart for evidence of that, because if I see NVIDIA rallying into the earnings release, so let's just say the week before or whatever, and I see NASDAQ rallying and Bitcoin creates its peak formation low and starts to rally as well, I'm going to see that as a potential buy the rumor price action, and we may potentially sell off after. And the reason why I think it is a high chance we sell off after is because even if NVIDIA meets expectations, it's going to be very difficult for NVIDIA to exceed expectations. If that's the case, then it will be a sell the news event after. And that may end up causing, if we go to Bitcoin on the daily, so if we have a little, say 1 week rally, it may end up causing just yet another lower high. Then we may go into a deeper correction after that. I'm not sure. Like, this is over a couple of weeks. We have to wait and see. But that's basically my play for this reason. So this is why I'm not particularly interested in taking short positions this week or, looking for short-term day trades. I personally want the bigger move. And so I'm going to wait and see if I get my pivot today, tomorrow, I will act on that. And those pivots will have to be identified on the 15-minute time frame because they're short-term. If I don't get it today or tomorrow, I will expect that price is going to move down on the 1 hour time frame for 3 levels, and that may take a couple of days. And each of those days, I'll be looking for a new peak formation low to then identify the pivot to long into the NVIDIA earnings release event. So I hope that's not too complicated an explanation. At the end of the day, this is what I'll be guiding my community through day by day as I see it happening. So I'm giving you an overall picture of what I'm personally looking for. But day by day, when I act on it, that happens inside of the Discord. Now, speaking of NVIDIA and Palantir, if you want to trade stocks, you can actually do that on BTCC. So you can trade tokenized stocks here as well as just trade crypto. You can trade futures, spot, whatever you want. And so if you're looking for an exchange to trade on, check out BTCC. With the link in the description down below, you will get a 15% bonus on first-time deposits. And if you're inside of our community, you can also get USDT rewards for posting P&L screenshots. So check out the details for that inside of the Discord. But what else do I want to look at? I want to also look at the dominance and everything like that. So Bitcoin dominance is spiking up again. So the worry that we have with Bitcoin dominance, well, worry for your altcoins, is that because we had this huge wick, we don't want to see, like we're expecting the Bitcoin price wick to the downside to fill. If this fills, alts are going to get absolutely decimated. It's why I've been selling pretty heavily, actually. Anything that's remaining, I'm down to about 5 or 6 altcoins now that I hold. And I've got to tell you, honestly, it feels so good. It really feels good to de-risk and just be free of it, and just trade what you see instead of being a bag holder. But anyway, with the stable coin dominance, look, it's higher highs, higher lows. That's a worry. It's risk off right now. Kind of makes sense when you look at the price. And then with the totals minus stables, this all makes sense as well. This is our 3-level rise into an M formation. We've had 1 drop. We're in the process of 2 drops. We broke the 50 EMA and retested it, which is a bearish signal. Now it looks like we're breaking the 200. So we basically want the same thing to repeat here, where it basically breaks down below the 200 EMA and then it comes back next to retest it. And then that's going to give you your 3rd level drop. So one other thing I actually wanted to point out, because I did a live stream the other day and I was telling you guys how good the ETH BTC chart is. And then I saw comments saying, oh, it's dangerous to be bullish on alts. Yeah, I agree with you. So I just want to be clear. I was not saying on that video to go and buy alts. I was saying that this chart looks really good right now. And it does, because it's a 3-level rise and it's currently building a bull flag. However, what I said on that video was it's not time to pull the trigger yet. So what we're waiting for is price here to create a higher low, a double bottom, or bounce off the 200 EMA. Then I will turn bullish on ETH BTC. So I'm not bullish yet. I'm neutral, waiting for a trigger. So I just want to be really clear about that. And I hope that, if you thought I was saying go all in on alts, no. I'm certainly out of spot alts, but I'm happy to short-term trade them. All right, so that's my update. I went to a crypto event on the weekend and somebody there said to me that they love watching my channel because I just get straight into the details and I don't mess around. So that's what I'm going to do more of now, because I like that. I don't like the long intros either. I just want to get in, look at the charts, see if there's something to trade, talk about it, and get off. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you guys on the next one.